Hello and welcome to another video here at Movie Mash, and today we're going to talk about the new Many Saints of Newark, the Sopranos prequel, starring Michael Gandolfini, Ray Liotta, Vera Farmiga, Alessandro Navido. I'm sorry if I've got that wrong, I'm a bit sorry about that, but as I said, we've got a new Sopranos prequel movie. Now when it comes to Sopranos, I think it is the greatest, the number one, the greatest TV show ever made for me, hands down. A lot of people can argue Breaking Bad is, and I think Breaking Bad is definitely up there, right? But for me, Sopranos is number one. It's the writing, it's the characters, it's the acting, it's the humor, it's the drama. The whole thing was fantastic, and I've watched it I don't know how many times. So hearing about this prequel, super excited. It felt like years ago since they announced it, and it felt really a long wait for it. Now, I will say that there was talks of a Sopranos movie after the film with James Gandolfini, but unfortunately he passed away, and that didn't happen. And I'm glad they didn't. They left it at that. So prequel, yeah. And we've got Michael Gandolfini's son playing the young Tony, so it's all good. Now, I've seen the. If you've watched Sopranos, you've seen him talking about or memories of him when he was back when he was a kid in the 60s with his dad, and what his dad used to get up to in the gangster lifestyle, and it looked awesome. So when we hear that's going to happen, I'm all for it. What I will say is that I saw the trailer and I thought the trailer looks absolutely fantastic. It looks good, fellas. We have not had a good gangster film in a long time. I mean, the last one we got was probably The Irishman, and it was okay. It was not. I didn't hate it, but people do. I thought it was okay. I'm not going to get into that now. So this film basically is basically the film is about Dickie Montesanti. Now I probably got that wrong because of my accent, but it's Chris Montesanti's dad. Now Chris Montesanti is a big character on Sopranos, and we do hear about his dad a lot, where Tony like looked up to his dad, and he was like a mentor to him, and he was really close, and that basically it's about him. This film is about him. Not as much about Michael as I thought, but Michael was in it quite a lot. Now, when I say quite a lot, I would say you don't see Michael Gandolfini or Tony in it for the first hour. I mean, there's another character, but it's mostly based on him. I will say that I find this to be a mixed bag, because I thought it was good. I did think it was good, but I felt like there were so many nods to Sopranos, which, yeah, that's great, but it felt like you was packing loads of stuff in, but and then just ignoring it. Like it just didn't have what I wanted from. Like, it felt like this should have been a 6-part Netflix special or Amazon. It should have, or maybe 10 parts. I would have been happy with that. It felt like you have too much to say in 2 hours. Yeah, I mean, at least make it 3 hours. And I know for some reason movie producers and all that hate making films more than 2 hours because they think it scares people off. And maybe it does, I don't know. But I feel like this could have done with being a 6, at least a minimum of a 6-part thing, because there's too much going on and too little time. Now, all the acting was great on this movie. Everyone was spot on. The guy, Dickie Montesanti, his character was like I really liked him. I thought he got charisma. He was everything what you'd want in a gangster film. Vera Farmiga playing Mrs. Soprano, Tony's mum. Wow, she was spot on. She had more of a part in it than I thought she would. She was spot on. She even added a bit more depth to the character than, well, not added more. Yeah, you could say she added more depth to the character that we knew from Sopranos. Like, you see a nicer side to her briefly, and she done it really good. She was spot on. Wow, did she sound like her and act like her? She was great. Now, I will say that John Bethel played Tony's dad. You blink, he was barely in it. I was disappointed in that because I like him and I like the actor. Thought it was a great choice. I don't know why you got him, who's become somewhat of a big actor these days, to get him to play such a small part. It's tiny. He was barely in it, and I was disappointed about that. Um, the the relationship between Michael and Dickie. Sorry, I keep saying Michael. Sorry, Tony. The relationship between Tony and Dickie, I did like, but I felt like there should have been more of it. Um, Ray Lotta, he was in it. You could have taken his character out. It felt like because he played Dickie Montesanti's dad, and it felt like he could have been taken out of this movie because he didn't serve a purpose. He played two roles in this film. He played himself and he played his brother, which I felt like was, I don't know, it just felt like there was no point to it. Um, it felt like they were just trying to cram too much in. Now, there's this thing I wanted to say. There's a black guy in it, and now don't get me wrong, I don't know his name, and he did it really well. But he worked for Dickie, and it showed a bit more about him, and it showed about riots that were going on in the 60s because the police jumped on and hurt some and arrested some black guy for very little reason, actually. But and there was riots over it. But we concentrated on those riots for a bit longer than I thought we needed to, because it felt like they had nothing to do with the film. If it felt like they had more to do with the film, fine, but it didn't. Now, we concentrated on this character, this black guy, quite a lot. And he was good, but again, I was thinking, all right, we're finding out quite a lot about him. We're finding out more about I think it's his wife, and we're finding out bits and pieces. But where are we going with this? I mean, I don't know him from if there's a character he plays in Sopranos in the TV show or some reference to him, fine, but I didn't know that. I felt like you're showing us more about this guy and then just dropping it. It felt like there was no point to it, that we wasted a lot of time on that when it had no real, there was no point to the character. If we had 6 parts and you put that character in some more, fine, but we spent a lot of time on him, like I am now, and it went nowhere. There was no reason for it, and he did a good job. Don't get me wrong, he did a good job. Just felt like there was no point, and the riots, we focused too much on that. Why? What's it got to do with what's going on? I know what the 60s and all what's going on, but what's it got to do with this? Now, the trailer gave me the impression that Tony, the young Tony, was the main focus, and it was about him and Dickie Montesanti and his rise to power and all that. No, it wasn't. And it was basically, it led up to the death of Dickie Montesanti. And I felt like it was just over too quick. I felt like I didn't get enough. Basically, bottom line is, I didn't get enough. It felt like there was more to be said. There was more to be done in this film. And it felt like you had too much to cram in 2 hours, and you spent too much time on something else that had no real relevance to the film as such. And I felt like it felt like an episode. It felt like a good episode, but it's just an episode, and we're waiting for the next part. And maybe they will make a film, another film. I don't know. Maybe they will, and I hope they do. But I felt like a bit underwhelmed. I felt like we want more. And when Dickie Montesanti died, as I won't say how, because if you don't remember, because it's mentioned on TV show quite a few times, then I'm not going to say. But it led up to his death, and Chris is born, and and Michael was such a good lad. There was nothing but nods on this. Also, now I know this is just a bit of a nitpick, but Paulie's character was in it. He was in it, Paulie. Now, Paulie is one of the biggest, larger-than-life characters on The Sopranos, and he was in it, but he barely said a word. And I thought, well, if you're going to keep him in it, you're just going to have to give him something funny to say, like he would say on the Sopranos TV show. Give him something funny. No, give him nothing funny. He was just kind of said a couple of words here and there. He kind of mimicked how poorly looked and acted and sounded, but there was no punchlines, there was nothing funny. And I was like, you could have given him something more to say or do, just even briefly. Give us more. Now, Silvio, basically, we got a guy, I don't know the actor's name, but we got a guy literally playing Silvio. Now, again, he had a little bit more to do than Paulie, but very, very little. And I feel like it was just a nod, basically a nod to Sopranos, nod to Sopranos. And that's fine, but just give him a bit more or don't give him anything. Vera Farmiga, she was definitely one of the highlights of the film. Dickie Montesanti, he was a great character, played by the actor. I know him from, the only things I ever seen him on was, he was on this film, which was great, by the way, you've got to see it, called The Art of Self-Defense. It's on Netflix at the moment. He is brilliant on it. It's a bit of a comedy. He also known from Jurassic Park 3, you know, not the favourite of the trilogy. And he's, I know he was on Face Off. But he's really good on this. Michael Gandolfini, spot on. Definitely. Great. Looked like him, sounded like him, everything. There was even a nod to Carmilla. Great. Loved it. So there's nods. And there's a bit of a story going on. And the story's good. It just felt like there wasn't enough time to just do what we wanted. And I felt a bit underwhelmed. Now, I'm not knocking it. I just feel like I wanted more. And maybe there will be, but it just feels like it'd have been better off had made a TV show. Now, I'm going to give you my final kind of thought on this now. I'm going to say to you, before I hit spoilers, what I thought. Now, I liked it. It's definitely worth a watch. If you're a Sopranos fan, definitely watch it. You'll get all the nods. Don't expect super like extra storylines that were, no, it's just cut too short. I will say, if you haven't seen Sopranos, you may enjoy it, but it definitely feels like you would have benefited from watching the TV show. I know people saying, oh no, but I do, because it felt like there was nothing but nods to the TV show. Now, I'm going to get into spoilers, because there's something I wanted to bring up. Now, I don't know, because I've just finished watching it, and I'm still soaking it in. Did Dickie Montesanti, was he delusional? Was he imagining things? Did he actually go to the cinema? Did he go to the prison and speak to his uncle, Ray Lotta? Did he? Because there was one point where he's talking about helping the blind play baseball, and he's like imagining it. Did he imagine it, or was he doing that? And then he turned around and he wasn't sitting there anymore. So does that mean that he imagined all that? And if he did, why? And if he didn't, why did they show it like that? So I felt like, what the fuck are you doing with this? Like, and take it out if it's not relevant to the film. Like, you know, just take it out. Meeting Ray Lotta's character in the prison. I'm going to say cinema again. In the prison, it didn't go anywhere. I thought I felt like he had something to say to him. He was going to tell him the truth about his dad, what he'd done to his dad, because he killed his dad over his girlfriend. And I just feel like, I don't know, was that just was he delusional? Was he imagining things? And that's what I'm trying to work out. Now, I'm going to probably research and read up and find out if it was. But for people who are watching this, please let me know if you know, and comment below and let me know, because I really want to know, because I'm a bit baffled by that. But anyway, that was my review on the whole thing in general. It was like I've just finished watching it, so I'm babbling on. I have nothing, just whatever's coming out of my head. But please let me know in the comments below what you thought. Do you love Sopranos? Do you hate it? Do you like this film? Should you watch it or not? Like and subscribe as normal, and I will let you go. But for now, and until next time.